Good evening and welcome to tonight's show. Oh, I'm trying to log out of some extra stuff here so we can maximize the RAM. Damn it. Why didn't I X this out before? Great way to start the show, Jeff. Good job. Good job, man. You did it. You really did it on this one. Congrats. It's the ultimate opening to a show. Come on, you stupid thing. This thing is so dumb. Whatever, we're here. Welcome to tonight's show. I feel like I haven't been live in quite some time. It's weird. It's weird when it feels more weird to not go live all the time than, to when you do go live or something. I don't know. We were supposed to go live. What's up, Aaron? We were supposed to go live yesterday, but we had some technical difficulties. I had a live band from England, from London, really Essex, which is right outside of London. And the problem was there were some logistical issues, so we ended up having to do it on Zoom. Might be one of my favorite episodes of Pizza Punk that I have done yet. I am super excited. That drops tomorrow. Please make sure to catch this episode. Do not miss out on this one. Has this band, Bad Nerves, phenomenal band. I was hanging out with Bobby and John. Bobby, the front man, John's bass player. And we had a great time. We had a really great time. This is a band that I've been listening to nonstop. Been listening to them nonstop. And the irony that the guy who's on one of the bass player, John, he subscribed to the channel. He's already subbed to the channel. He's a Misfits fan. He's into the Misfits and whatnot. He listens to the channel for the Misfits content. I thought that was so funny. I was like, dude, I've been listening to you guys nonstop on my Spotify, and here, like, what a small friggin' world. But they are great. Their music is great. Highly advised. Go to their YouTube and check out some of their music on YouTube. And just spectacular band. That premieres tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're in London, that's 8 p.m. 8 p.m. GMT London time. So the reason why I am doing this episode is because somebody posted, I've always had an affinity for Punk-O-Rama, but somebody posted, I guess I mentioned Punk-O-Rama recently, and someone was like, you should do a Punk-O-Rama episode. I was like, hell yeah, I should do a Punk-O-Rama episode. Of course. I mean, that's like, that's a given right there. So here we are. It's like, that's perfect fodder. Not only did I do that, but I actually made a playlist. Now, this episode is supposed to be the top 20 songs, but I found that to be a rather daunting and impossible task. I don't think you can quantify 20 songs there's so many. Those songs are so tied into my adolescent years that I can't pick. So I took about 3 hours worth of music. I don't know how many tracks it is, and I made my own picks. I did Frumess's picks, Punk-O-Rama picks. That's a Spotify playlist. Link is down in the description or in the chat. You can see it in the chat. I'm going to talk about Punk-O-Rama for a minute. So when I first started listening to punk rock, the first time I was exposed to Punk-O-Rama was at the mall. Went to the mall. I was with my friend who was really into punk rock. His name is Andrew Bernstein. He's not my friend anymore, not for any bad reason. I just lost track with him. But he was someone who was turned on. I guess he was a skater kid, and he was turned on to all of that punk rock music stuff. And I'll never forget, we were at FYE in the mall, And I was looking through whatever. I don't even know what I was into at the time. Classic rock, I don't know, Beatles. And God, this had to be 1999. This was 1999, I think. The height of the mall age, when when the price of a CD could be upwards of $20, if you could believe it. Something like, I don't know, CDs had to go for, there was like $17.99 to $18.99 for 13 tracks in some cases. And later on they started to put bonus stuff in, and it got a little bit better, but wasn't always that way. And we went to FYE, and he had in his hand a bunch of comps. I didn't know what a comp was. Compilation of what they would do, what these labels, these independent, punk rock labels would do, is they would take a bunch of bands that were on their roster, and they would make very cheap compilations. That's what it was. A compilation. It's a gathering of tracks that are on the label. What's up, Angus? Is in the crowd tonight. You take your tracks, you put them on your CD, and it's priced ridiculously cheap. Now, some of you might remember, oh my God, this is like making me really nostalgic. This is taking me down memory lane. Now, the thing about Punk-O-Rama was it was one step up from what was considered to be the common sampler. If you had your band on a sampler, it was probably like the least big deal of all, because like samplers were like things like freebies. They were like freebie things. They really didn't, there was no intrinsic value to them. They might have good songs. That was how I first heard System of a Down, was on a Tower Records freebie sampler. That song, Sugar, Zebrahead. Oh my God. Remember Zebrahead? Holy hell. Punk-O-Rama was like the next step up from those compilations. It was, there was some prestige to it, I guess. And they were priced at $5.99. They had a sticker on the front that said $5.99 cheap. Just like Mad Magazine, right? Mad Magazine had that whatever it was, $2.99 cheap. And he bought, God damn if I can't remember which Punk-O-Rama he got. I don't remember what he got. Yeah, Angus says freebies kept at the front. Freebies kept at the front of the record stores. Angus, I'm going to deputize you right now since you're here often. Angus is going to be a chat mod. Angus, get rid of this jabroni here to keep the chat clean. Hold on. I already lost my place. What the hell was I talking about here? Just a second. Angus, you are now add moderator. Boom. Angus, you're a moderator. Boot that bot out of here, if you would please, sir. Oh, never mind. John of Doom was here. John of Doom took care of it. He beat you to the punch. Thank you, John of Doom. We're glad. Always good to have another moderator in any case. Welcome to the club, Angus. Thank you, John, for taking care of that. John provided us with some great content. By the way, John has a band called Voice of Doom. They are playing December 18th at the in New York City. I believe the show starts at 2:00. Check out Voice of Doom. Check out this show. It's not something that you want to miss. They're playing December 18th. It's an early show. I think it's an early show. Okay, sorry. So anyway, so Punk-O-Rama. So Andrew bought this Punk-O-Rama thing. I was like, what the hell is this all about? And he explained it to me, and he explained really like the sort of concept of a compilation, which I was sort of familiar with at that point. And yeah, the thing about compilations too is, they were like AOL depending on your age and when you're listening to this, they were like AOL CDs. Remember those things? AOL CDs, if you wanted to get 30 free hours, some people figured out a way to scam the system, and they were perpetually on free AOL, but they kept using the CDs 100 free hours. That, you know, people were tossed these things like frisbees, and so maybe a sampler was one step up from an AOL uh, an AOL CD-ROM. Like, God, there must be just ginormous landfills of those things. Somewhere in the Pacific Ocean, there's an island of AOL CDs. I still have a couple. It's so funny how they used to be so plentiful, and now to have one, it's such a relic. And I thought about throwing it away, and I was like, you know, this is just like such like a momentum from a bygone era. I have to hold on to this. All right, I'm getting sidetracked. So basically, what happened was he bought the Punk-O-Rama. I can't remember for the life of me which one it was. And it was just, that was my introduction to compilations. It's just a lot of bands. And he also got one of the Fat Records. Fat Records, much like Epitaph, was that's Fat Mike's label, you know, the No Effects. And funny enough, Fat Mike and No Effects were actually signed to Epitaph and not Fat Records, which I thought that was kind of bizarre, a bizarre thing. But you know, all of these labels, Fat Records, Epitaph, there were lots of them. There were lots of labels like this, and they were all independent, but they were selling really well. They had good distribution. You could go into almost any record store across the country and you could find these compilations, or you could find their catalogs, and they were selling so well. And the reason for that was because of Dookie. Dookie followed in the footsteps of Nevermind. Nevermind opened the door. Dookie, Green Day's Dookie, walked through, and then Dookie opened the door for you know, again, No Effects, Bad Religion, The Offspring, you know, Pennywise, all of these bands, H2O, like just every 90s punk band, they all sold really well. They all did pretty good. They didn't at first, but they started to eventually pick up speed. They didn't have, and you know, because they were their own label, they owned their masters, or at least, you know, whoever was running the label owned the masters. The deals were probably a little bit better. I mean, these bands were making livings, you know, on some level, you know, putting out their music. Kind of insane when you think about it. You know, you look at a guy like Fat Mike, Brett Gurewitz, who runs Epitaph, is, you know, these guys are like millionaires, man. They're millionaires, and their money was, or at least their fortune, right? Our King, I think we decided that Our King, actually, it's Our King. Our King mentions the Hellcats imprint. That was an imprint offshoot of Epitaph, I believe, which was Hellcats Give 'Em the Boot. And that had the Distillers on it. I think I had Given the Boot too. I think the Necromantics were on that eventually. The Necromantics were also on Punk-O-Rama 9. So you just had this, like, it was just a really incredible way to discover music. That's how you could discover new music. What the risk was low, because here's the thing, and this is the intrinsically why a compilation was so important, or could be so important, because back when music lived on CDs, when you bought a CD, you know, it's funny, I saw someone made a joke on TikTok about Chumbawamba. Remember when Chumbawamba was this anarchist, like, punk collective that had a hit with, you know, Tub Thumping, but they had been around for what, like 10, 15 years, and they had put out all sorts of weird esoteric music. And then they just somehow got, like, mutated into a, you know, international one-hit wonder. You know how many people bought that friggin' CD for one song? People were spending $1997 or whatever it was. They were spending, you know, $10, $12, $13, $14 for a CD, right? With this song on it, you know, because that was the other thing. That was the other super weird thing. Singles in the CD age and the tape cassette age, like, yes, you did have tape singles and CD singles, but they were not nearly as popular as albums. People would rather buy the album than buy the single. So it's weird how, like, the 7-inch was really the last time that singles, I think, really had any sort of intrinsic value. I mean, of course, obviously they existed. I mean, there are billions and billions of singles that were put onto cassettes and CDs. From what I remember of the 90s, again, I was born in 85, mind you. But from what I remember of the 90s, that singles really didn't mean anything, and that it was always about having the album. And generally speaking, what would happen is, but there would always only be one song that you would really want on the album. And the funny thing too was, you saw later on when we started to get the first software that allowed us to rip CDs. You would make your own mix CDs, not mix tapes. You'd make mix CDs, and the way you would do a mixtape. I think I was part of one of the last generations that made mixtapes. Very tail end of that. I was one of the last generations, I think, to really tape music off the radio. I remember doing that. I used to do it on Z100. I used to tape the top 10 radio hits of whatever. They do the countdown every night, and I would tape it. My point is that like people would buy these CDs, but then they would take one song off of the CD, they'd rip it or whatever, they'd make a playlist with all the songs. So it's kind of the irony, and then that gave rise to compilations. Like that's what I call music. Now that's what I call music. Volumes 1 and 2 were like friggin' platinum selling. I think they all eventually went platinum, but those were tremendous, and they had great value because they had all the hot radio hits without having to buy every single one of the CDs. What's funny is people are always lambasting, greatest hits collections, but there's so often that you might want to just hear Led Zeppelin's greatest hits. You might just want to hear Tom Petty's greatest hits. As an adult, as a man who's almost 40, that's absolute insanity to me. But as a young kid with not a lot of money to spend on music, it intrinsically, it really made a lot of sense that I would want Jimi Hendrix, Are You Experienced, greatest hits, whatever thing. Because I just wanted to hear Fire and Foxy Lady and, blah, blah, blah. The exception to that rule, of course, was the Beatles. However, my introduction to the Beatles was a compilation in the Red Album. The Red Album and the White Album. Those were my first two Beatles albums in 1995. 10 years old. So, sorry, I think it was 1994 at 9 years. I think it was 9 years old. So the point being here is that there was great value to these compilations. And especially for punk labels, it makes so much sense to put a bunch of bands on your roster on these compilations. And then kids, if they like the song, they're going to seek out the album. But a lot of times that wasn't necessarily the case. And the kids were just happy to spend $6. Because, if you go to the mall, let's say you go to the mall with $20, maybe if you're lucky, you're going to find one CD, you're going to find an album, maybe you'll find an album for $12. And then if you could buy a Punk-O-Rama for $5.99, that is a freaking wow. Like, walk out of the mall with 2 CDs for $20. That's like, you're doing good. You are doing good, especially because these compilations, all the songs were always like super short. And the compilations had like a minimum of 20 songs. And I think the shortest one is 18 songs, and the longest one is like 28 songs. So you could have 20 something songs, man. And Angus says here, when I was younger, I was introduced to many bands via compilations way before Punk-O-Rama. For me, I was introduced to many bands because of Punk-O-Rama. That's how I know who Pennywise is. That's how I first learned about TSOL. I can remember the first time I was listening to the song Code Blue and thinking, oh my God, is he saying what I think he's saying? Is Jack singing what I think he's singing? And it's so weird. It's so surreal to think about that as oh God, how things come full circle. But yeah, it's just it was just one of those things, and those compilations. And then here's the other component of this, and I have some reading material, some interesting facts. I'm going to read I actually want to read the what it says in the Wikipedia, because it has some information that I wasn't aware of in regards to Punk-O-Rama. But here's the other thing, and the reason why Punk-O-Rama, why I love it so much, and why it means so much to me. And why I can't do 20 top 20 songs. It would take me a very long time to try and figure that out. I don't think I could either. I just don't think it would work. The thing about music, this is the amazing thing. Yes, short music for short people. It was 99 songs that were 30 seconds long, and it included See Her P by NoFX. Da-na-na-na, microwave. Da-na-na-na, double down. Da-na-na-na-na, see her pee between two parked cars. Da-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na. It had I Want to Be a New York Ranger on it, the Misfits, with John Cafiero singing, no less. I think. Yeah, short music for short people. That was great. There was a lot of ones like that in general. There was Go-Kart Records, there was Fat Records, there was Kung Fu Records. There was the probably doesn't ring too well. I'm quoting. This is the name of the label. Asian Man Records was one of them. What else? And then the Epitaph, Punk-O-Rama. So here's the thing about music. This is the amazing thing about music. They say that it's funny. They say that smell will bring you is one of the greatest time machines. And what I mean by time machine is it's able to trigger memory recall in a way that other senses can't. Someone can tell you something and you can be instantly called back to that time and place, wherever it was. You can smell something, or you could watch a movie and get like a feel for the vibe. But there's something about music above all else. Music to me is the greatest time machine of all. And it's like stepping into a time machine. You put music on and you're not just transported. I feel like the reason why music is above all else, because when I smell something, like when I smell something particularly, it might take me back to the time, but I'm not thinking about what everything that goes with it. When I hear a song, it takes me back to smells. It takes me back to clothing I was wearing. It takes me back. It's so much more of a time machine. It's much more of a time capsule. And the funny thing too about music and about going back in time like that, you have to be very careful. At least I have to be very careful, because here's the thing: part of what steeps the music in the memory is the part of what ingrains the music in the memory is the amount of times you listen to it. This is all I'm listening to at this time in my life. Then when I hear that music, I'm suddenly brought back to that time. Now, if I listen to that music every day, is it going to have that same recall effect? No, at least for me, not. Some people it's different. Some people, I'm sure, can go back in time. But for me personally, no. I need to be very careful with this kind of stuff. I can't listen to it every day, or else it will lose its meaning in the memory. So what I have to do is it's like a bottle. I say this as a sober person. It's like a bottle of fine wine that you take out on a rare or whatever, like a whiskey, a malt whiskey. You take it out on rare occasion, and you pour yourself a drink, and that's it. And although that's quite impossible to do when you like booze, but the point is that if I do it too much, then it's going to lose its meaning. So I'm very careful about how I listen to certain music. With the Misfits, a lot of those adolescent memories are erased because I listened to the Misfits so much. It still brings me back. It's not the same. I could listen to these Punk-O-Rama songs and I am suddenly floods of memories just fill my mind. It's beautiful, man. It's beautiful. And that's why I love these compilations. So on the mix that I made, I took all the songs that really have like nostalgic meaning to me. I've heard every song on these compilations for the most part, but there are songs that I would entirely skip over, or I'd listen to a grouping of songs. These were not compilations that I would just play all the way through from the beginning to end. They're just, if a song didn't click, a song didn't click. I'd say, songs 1 to 20 on Punk-O-Rama 3. Like, I could listen to Punk-O-Rama 3 all the way through, and just I love every song. But other compilations, not as much. So they're very patchy. And so my advice to you is, if you're into Punk-O-Rama, or if you want to hear my personal picks, put it on shuffle and just go for a walk and enjoy what is on there. So yeah, so that's punk rock. And of course, right at that time, I started listening to all these '90s punk bands, and that's when I started. That's the first time I started hearing the Pistols, and then as well as the Misfits. I heard the Misfits, and that was it for me. I was a self-proclaimed punk rocker, self-proclaimed into punk rock, all that classic rock, bullshit, which I, of course, love and have a respect and affinity for now, but it suddenly became so uncool to me, except for the Beatles. Beatles never lost any, never devalued. All of that music, I put all of it behind me, and I just was like really into, like, if it wasn't fast and loud, I didn't want to hear it. Let's read about some fact. Yeah, Jamie says Discord Records had some great comps also. Discord run by Ian Mackay. And okay, all right, so here's some interesting information. Punk-O-Rama was the title given to a series of 10 compilations. There were 10 Punk-O-Ramas. Now, funny thing is, I don't think I listened to, I never listened to Volume 10. I only listened to a couple songs on Volume 9 and Volume 8. So I really fell off Punk-O-Rama personally. I fell off around Volume 7, which was 2004. That was the last Punk-O-Rama that really had songs that I enjoyed. And I'd say, for me, that like the real meat, like the real heyday of it, is Punk-O-Rama, I guess 2 through 5, but really even just 3, 4, and 5. You got to throw 2 in there. And the first one I never ever bought. I never got a hold of it. I think it was hard to find in my neck of the woods in Westchester. So I don't have any childhood connection to the original Punk-O-Rama from 1994, funny enough. So for me, it's volumes 2 through 7 that really mean something, really truly mean something. So there were 10 of these albums. The first one was released in 94, the second in 96, and the rest annually from 1998 to 2005. The albums included artists from Epitaph's roster, as well as from its subsidiary label, Anti, and its partner labels, Hellcat Records and Burning Heart Records. So Hellcat Records is Tim Armstrong from Rancid, his label. In total, the series included 257 songs by 88 artists. How about that? Rancid and Pennywise were the only bands to appear on all 10 volumes. Scott Radinsky appears on all 10, the first one with 10-Foot Pole, which they have that great song ADD on Punk-O-Rama 3. And he appeared on nine compilations with Pulley, his band Pulley. I believe Scott is also a baseball player, ironically enough. Angus says we also have the occasional compilation devoted towards one band. Sure, of course. I mean, that's when you get into sort of greatest hits territory, right? A little bit. As the title implied, the series featured mostly punk rock and various punk subgenres, such as garage punk, which, best represented New Bomb Turks. So I had Eric from the New Bomb Turks was on here. We didn't really talk about his time at the label. I really should have pressed him harder. I don't think he's really stoked about that stuff. I don't know. You have hardcore punk, pop punk, post-hardcore, ska punk, skate punk, and street punk. But really, all of these things can fall under the moniker of 90s punk, even though they are individual subgenres. However, and this is where the series really fell off. However, as the series went on and the labels' rosters diversified, the music of the Punk-O-Rama compilations grew to include additional styles of music such as alternative hip hop, alternative rock, digital hardcore, emo, a lot of emo stuff, experimental music, garage rock, indie rock, metalcore, psychobilly, and screamo. And that's where they really start to lose me. And you really start to feel that in Punk-O-Rama 7. Punk-O-Rama 7 is when it first starts to really hit. And by Punk-O-Rama 8, it's not. Like I said, the heyday, like the real classic era to me is 2, 3, 4, and 5. That is like the sweet spot, the zenith. And yeah, 6 is good, but there's a lot of, I don't know, I feel like there's less good songs. 7 has a couple. 7 has Bouncing Souls. They do this something special, which is one of their greatest songs. That, forget about the things we do. No, we never agree on a single thing. I don't know why we almost killed each other from the inside. I managed to be a jerk anyway. God damn, the Bouncing Souls are great. They're playing tonight in Brooklyn. I wish I could be there. They're currently writing and recording a new album. So, yeah, but I mean, oh God, there's so many great songs by the Bouncing Souls on they did Sing Along Forever. Sing a Song Forever. That's the last great track on the Punk-O-Rama compilation. I think that was on volume 9, and that was like the last time I was like coherently tapped into that. And then they did the unthinkable. They changed the name from Punk-O-Rama, which is such a 90s thing, to Unsound, which is such like a 2000s thing. It's such like a screamo. What it is I would say that eventually it went from being about like, this 90s punk stuff, and it transitioned into, post, I mean, I was about to say post-punk, post-alternative is how I would really put it. I don't think you would call it post-punk in the same way that we think of post-punk from the 80s. Artwork for the series was inconsistent over the first 4 installments, with cover art and layout provided by various artists and designers. It was great. Every time there was a new Punk-O-Rama compilation cover, I was always like, what's the next one going to be? What's the next one going to be? I was all about that. A guy named C. Martin provided the artwork and layout for both the 5th and 6th volumes, though they had different styles and themes they did. I remember volume 4 was Play Nice in the Pit. Volume 5 was like a pastiche. It was like a collage, like you'd find on like some punk record from the late 70s, from like the early 80s. And then 7 and 8 and 9 like have its own. They all the art. Oh, it's lame. It looked lame. Epitaph also organized several Punk-O-Rama tours. Could you imagine if they still did those, or if they had a nostalgia Punk-O-Rama tour? I would go to every fucking date of a Punk-O-Rama tour. That would be great. Featuring bands that would contribute to the compilation, such as Agnostic Front, All, The Distillers, Guttermouth, Malenicholin. I can never say their name. They have some great songs on Punk-O-Rama. Straight Faced and the Voodoo Glow Skulls, of course. Occasionally, these would be accompanied by special Punk-O-Rama tour sampler CDs. Right, and they had they were different from the main series. I know that there was a volume 2. There was a volume 2.1. That's what it was. That was the tour sampler. In 2003, the label pushed the DVD, right. And then the compilation started to get a little bit more complicated. During the rise of Napster, as Napster started to grow, people wanted to, they would, try to give you even more value to keep you from downloading. And so what did you get? What would you get? You would get friggin' you get a DVD to go with it, and that was always special. I love anytime a CD came with a DVD like combo. That was a really special thing when your favorite band or a band that you really love had that. I remember when TSOL they put out "Divided We Stand" on Nitro Records. There was the Nitro Punkzilla sampler. That thing was great. That had "Son of Sam," with the guys from Sam Hain, along with Davey Havoc. It had AFI on it. It had it was the Offspring's. That was the Offspring's label, right? Golf. I like this guy's screen name. Golfalala. Golfalus Shampoo says, Punk-O-Rama introduced me to many bands. Right on. R. King says, there was a Punk-O-Rama TV show showcasing various bands' music videos. I taped the shows on VHS. It was shown here in Los Angeles on the local cable network station. That's amazing. I didn't know that. I mean, I didn't even wrap my mind around the fact that maybe some of these bands were putting out music videos, which they most certainly did. But yeah, the DVD took everything to a whole other level. And that was, I remember Volume 9 had a DVD, and that's where I saw the music video for Mistake by the Horror Pops, who I later would go to see live. The Joy Killer, Jack Grisham's 90s band, which sound very much like TSOL. Actually, what's funny is the Joy Killer was very much like TSOL, sounds like TSOL 2.0. That would be a better way to put it. They don't sound like early TSOL, but there's very little distinction for me, at least, between, Disappear and Divided We Stand and, the Joy Killer self-titled album that came out in 95 on Epitaph. So, Angus says the one time it was ever put on a guest list was the Cramps and Gashuffer, and you were given a Punk-O-Rama CD. Wow, I am jealous. Right, the Cramps were on a Punk-O-Rama with Haul Ass Hyena on Volume 3, which is a great friggin' song. Love Haul Ass Hyena. What was that? A Date with Elvis or something? I mean, they had some bands. They had the Descendants. In 2006, Epitaph announced the retirement of the Punk-O-Rama brand in favor of a new series called titled Unsound. And I mean, I remember when that happened, I was annoyed. And yes, it was less genre specific, but more conducive to the label's expanding roster of musical styles. However, only one compilation was published under the title Unsound banner before the series was also discontinued. Yeah, it did not have the same staying power. You have to understand, I don't know what numbers they were doing. They were making so much money off of these Punk-O-Rama compilations. They had to have been. I mean, because they already are signing these bands. It takes, instead of like focusing on the brand is the label itself, and instead of just focusing on pushing a band 12 songs by one band, it's like effortless to say, hey, each one of you guys pitch in a song, boom, here we go. Because the kids all want that anyway. They want all these bands that they're into. Wow, look, here's for those who are already turned on to all these bands, it's like, wow, look, here's a band. I mean, here's a CD that has all my favorite bands on it. Sublime would have been an Epitaph band. They recorded in Epitaph Studios, and it didn't work out. That was when Bradley was at one of his druggliest periods. It's drugs and ugly, drugged out periods, and they recorded 6 or 7 song demos for free that they later were able to get from Brett Goritz, and they put it out as, eventually that turned into Robin the Hood, which is one of the stickiest records they've ever put out. One of my favorites. And you know what else is sticky? Riot stickers, man. We just froze. Riot stickers are sticky. Riot Stickers, headed up by CEO Sharpie Riot himself. He is quite the businessman. He is the official sponsor. They are the official sponsor of the Frumess channel, as many of you know. And we're doing a special promotion with riotstickers.com. If you go to riotstickers.com/Frumess, Frumess, riotstickers.com/Frumess, link in the comments, you can get a very special stickers deal. This deal is not available anywhere else on the internet. You cannot get this deal. You cannot get this deal if you go to the website. You have to go specifically to riotstickers.com/Frumess to get 1,000 stickers for $79. That's 7 cents per sticker. The stickers themselves, they have a UV coating to protect from the sun. They're printed on vinyl, which makes them waterproof. I mean, what else? What else did they come 3 inches by 3 inches? You're not going to find a better deal. Here is in honor of tonight's episode. Here is the Less Than Jake penned theme song. It's the guy from Less Than Jake. It's not Less Than Jake themselves.
We make stickers, banners, and buttons too. Posters and promo cards. There's nothing we can't print for you. From stage backdrops to bass drum heads. We can print on shirts. We can print on hats. We can print on pants. Cheap prices and high quality. Quick turnaround times and free shipping. We also offer free artwork support. Great customer service and so much more. Riotstickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. Riotstickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. Riotstickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. Riotstickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb.
Booyah. Okay, and we are back. So as we were saying, Matt says SST Records, The Blasting Concept Volume 2 is my intro to American punk beyond the Ramones. Black Flag, Husker Du, Minutemen, Meat Puppets, Worm, very experimental, nothing like the Ramones. Yeah, I mean, not every label, but a lot of these labels had, had concepts like that, compilations, right? And the Cramps were on the label. Oh, I know my man Kevin here is super familiar with Punk-O-Rama at some point, the classic, wonderful, Punk-O-Rama. R. King says, to be specific, the Punk-O-Rama show was shown on public access channel on local cable station, right? So in 2003 they put out they also did they experimented with a DVD, and that maybe this is what R. King is talking about, the videos, volume 1 of this wasn't from the 90s, but it included 22 music videos as well as a documentary called The Epitaph Story. It was a short film that sort of told the history of the label, and they never did a second volume, but that's when the DVDs took over on the 9th and 10th albums, and that was it. These things really were, these things were an institution for me personally. Kevin says he's sure he had a few of these. I'm sure you did. It was just such a mall like thing to do. If you're living in Westchester or Nyack Palisades Mall, I'm sure you found your way. You bumped into either at Sam Goody or FYE. You bumped into a Punk-O-Rama. It just had to happen. The first Punk-O-Rama, I did not have it, but it had Bad Religion, No Effects, Rancid, The Offspring, Pennywise. It had 2 Rancid songs actually. It had 2 No Effects songs. Wayne Kramer. That's right, Wayne Kramer from the MC5. I actually bought his album, Dangerous Madness, off of Epitaph. He had 10-foot pole. Lots of stuff. And then, number 2, you got Descendants, Coffee Mug, friggin' my introduction to Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, man. And then, of course, and we talked about briefly the Humpers, man. Just a fantastic band. They had that song "Mutate with Me." That was from Plastic Valentine. Just Plastique Valentine. Oh my God, was that great? What a great friggin' song. Sidekick. I had a dream I was a teenage sidekick. That was Rancid. Bullion from Millennicolin. They're Swedish, I think. El Cooley Cool, which is Voodoo Glow Skulls. And then you had from the second Joy Killer album, Static. Maybe it was the third. You had that song Hate. And you also had Code Blue, because Dance With Me was reissued through Epitaph in the 90s. So you had Code Blue, Whatever Dee Dee Wants from No Effects, Gruesome Gary, Down by Law. Yeah, man, Jukebox Lean from Scared Straight, the New Bomb Turks. We had, as I said, Eric Davidson was on the show here. You've never seen the New Bomb Turks. It's hard to see the New Bomb Turks because they seldomly play. They are what I like to call what's it called? They are a hiatus band. They come out of hiatus to play a show, and then they go back into hiatus. What's up, Rue Morg? Rue Morg knows about the coffee mug. Mug. Angus says, the Humpers were funny as shit to hang out with. They used to play in Lawrence, Kansas a lot when I was living there. Yeah, dude. I think they reunited a few years back and they were playing some shows. But those songs, Steel-Toed Sneakers and Mutate With Me on those Punk-O-Rama was just so good. Yes, thank you for knowing Jukebox Lean. I got the jukebox lean. Jukebox lean. I got the wait. Dolls, I don't know what to do with it. I do it clean. All of this is on the Spotify mix I made, so put that on shuffle and travel back to the 90s to enjoy Punk-O-Rama. Punk-O-Rama 3, this is from 1998. This is probably, this for me, almost every song on this record is just so, compilation is just the best. You have this, I believe it's an unreleased, or at least it doesn't appear on an album. It's a No Effect song called We Threw Gasoline on Fire and Now We Have Stumps for Arms and No Eyebrows. That friggin', what an opener, man. What an opener. Yes, you have Zeke and the Dwarves. There Better Be Women. Better Be Women and Fuck the World. I think it was Fuck the World, I will be like you. I will be not atomizing, terrorizing, mesmerizing. Fuck the world, I will be like you. I will be not. Kevin discovered the New Bomb Turks on a local public access show in the 90s called Back from the Dead, I believe. Oh, man. New Bomb Turks. So, Kevin, have you seen my interview with Eric from the New Bomb Turks on this channel? You should watch it. Said that about 100 times. You understand, the New Bomb Turks have written, I'll get to it in a minute. We get to Punk-O-Rama 4. The New Bomb Turks have written one of my favorite punk rock songs of all time. Sorry, it was called I Will Deny, not Fuck the World. The song is that I was just singing, Fuck the world, I will be like you. I will be not atomized. That's I Will Deny, not Fuck the World. I had the song title wrong. So here's what they have on Punk-O-Rama 3. Everybody's Girl. That's from the Dwarves. And that's from the Dwarves Are Young. That is such a great song. World's on Heroin from All. I mean, just World's on Heroin. All this laziness. I try to do all the other achievers. To the breakout guy. And then my first introduction to the Bouncing Souls, and one of my favorite Bouncing Souls songs, Say Anything, which, I have a t-shirt where I went and saw the Souls a couple years ago with TSOL. And they have a shirt of Lloyd Dobler from, John Cusack, Say Anything. And it's just him that says the Bouncing Souls. I want to make you know I can do everything, but I don't have to show you how I really am. Wish I could say I have no regrets. I want to do is no. I don't want to be this way. I kick myself. I wish I could say that I have no regrets today. Sorry, I just it's all coming back to me right now. The Delinquent song by Voodoo Ghost Squills. God, is that a good song? Ever Ready by H2O. Draw, but you can't keep it down, can't keep it down. Draw, but you can't ever. Draw. Greed Motivates by Straight Faced. Look at you, you're dun 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 dun. Never Connected. Dun, 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 dun. I gotta listen to this. I gotta listen to this compilation when I get off. It's just so good. Classic Agnostic Front song, Gotta Go. I gotta. And speaking of the New Bomb Turks, one of the best New Bomb Turks songs is Defiled. And if you've never seen the New Bomb Turks perform Defiled, and they have a few versions of Defiled, that song, I can't even do it justice. And there's like this, it's not a breakdown, it's like this intermission before the song finishes, and it just makes you want to pull your hair out, like in the best way ever. It's the big beat from Badsville. That's the name of the Cramps album. That's Haul Ass Aida. Haul Ass I. Yeah, Rue knows what's up with Gotta Go. Agnostic. Yeah, man, New Bomb Turks. They're just friggin', they are great. They are so good live. They really are. Rats in the Hallway. That's a great Rancid song. That's from the self-titled Rancid album. And then, of course, just a freaking fucking highlight is Steel Toed Sneakers, man. And that's from Euphoria, Confusion, Anger, and Remorse. What do we got? We got sneakers. We got steel, motherfucker. Go, da, da, da. Kicking out the doors, kicking out the wall, kicking out the doors, kicking out the walls. What do we got? Bad Seed. Really great Wayne Kramer track. If you don't know who Wayne Kramer is of the MC5, you have Bad Seed. That's from an album called The Hard Stuff. Gas Huffer with Rotten Egg. Oh my God. Okay, chick band. I think they're a chick band. At least the lead singer is a chick. Red Ants. They had a song called Poison Steak. We're gonna poison you tonight. Gonna poison you tonight. All this terrible singing is not doing my throat any good. No Equalizer by another great Down by Law track. Oscar. All right. One of the best 10-foot pole song. Actually, that's not true. I think the best one is The Getaway is a really good song. ADD. Mommy taste my Ritalin. It's not fun. The microwaves did something to our brains. We need to take these pills to help us change. Please let me take them. I don't want to be an idiot. Ritalin will make me smart. At least that's what my teacher says. All the other kids take them. I think I am the only one. I need something to slow me down. I talk too much because I am down, 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 down. It's so good, man. Losing Must by Millet. I can't pronounce this name. Millencolin. Goat Boy saw Gas Huffer in '94. That's awesome. Give me that friggin' package, dude. Give me all of those bands for Punk-O-Rama Fest, dude. And probably my first real introduction to Bad Religion, besides Early Man, besides We're Only Gonna Die for Our Own Arrogance, is You from No Control. One of their great songs. There's a place where everyone can be happy. It's the most beautiful place in the whole wide fucking world. And the prettiest little. And then, you know what's funny? I mean, I would always just turn the album off right after that song. So I never listened to Pulley and Pennywise and Eye Against Eye, the last 3 tracks. I don't know why. I just stopped. I always stopped that song. So they're not on my compilation because I just, now if someone put these out on vinyl, I think they put out some of them. Like, I would buy these up in a heartbeat to have on vinyl. This is something I would want on vinyl. The Hard Times did a really funny article that I have right here, and I love the Hard Times. I don't know if you guys, the Hard Times is like the Onion, but for like punk rock and music and stuff, and it's really funny. and they always crack me up. The jokes are so inside baseball. Like, you have to like really know like music or punk or just like musical humor to really get them. Son caught with Punk-O-Rama CD, forced to listen to the entire compilation. Sacramento, young Joey Hopkins was forced to listen to volumes 5, 7, and 8 of his father's Epitaph Punk-O-Rama collection in their entirety after stealing them from the basement to impress his teenage friends. Joey and his friends have been all hopped up on the new Machine Gun Kelly record, and he thought they might be ready to get into some real punk for my youth, explained an irate Dan Stick Hopkins, father of Joey and former punk. They bypassed Green Day altogether and went straight for the Guy Smiley deep cuts. I've warned him so many times about going through my stuff. Hopefully this puts a stop to it. This hurts me more than it hurts him, but he has to learn somehow that he can't just dabble in the non-embarrassing stuff. While Joey and his friends enjoyed the pop punk tracks by the likes of Pulley and the Bouncing Souls, they were a bit taken aback by the compilation's more hardcore offerings from Refused, Madball, and Death by Stereo. Death by Stereo, they're a Scandinavian band who are great, and they take their name Death by Stereo because of the Lost Boys. When they explode, the vampire explodes in the stereo. Death by Stereo! There's no question about it. We just weren't ready, admits Joey's friend, Shaky Daryl. I mean, those Rancid guys might look scary, but their music was so fun it didn't matter. But for the life of me, I can't figure out why those Swedish dudes in Refused are so flippin' angry. Don't they have universal health care? Epitaph Records founder and Bad Religion guitarist Brett Gurwitz commented on the rising issue of teens discovering their parents' punk roots. It's true, they should be a bit more responsible with their punk paraphernalia, although I think Punk-O-Rama is as good an entry point as any if you're looking for a safe yet intriguing introduction into the world. It's true. The biting social commentary of early 2000s Bad Religion especially offers an exceedingly prescient view into our current geopolitical situation, illuminating the threat of international U.S. imperialism, all the while ignoring domestic turmoil at an alarming rate. So Gurwitz trailing off and looking up from a thesaurus. Did I use big enough words? Greg will get mad at me if I sound dumb. Despite the embarrassment of his punk phase resurfacing, Hopkins eventually decided that he's actually looking forward to connecting with his son through their newly found shared interests, stating that he might break out the old Rock Against Bush comps. That was another one, the Rock Against Bush comps. Those came a little bit later in 2004. And that was done, I think those were Fat Records, and that was through Fat Mike, who was like really charged up about getting young. He was like the second wave of Rock the Vote. He was trying to get everybody to vote, trying to get, young people to not vote for, whatever, not vote for Republicans. This was from July 1st, 2022, and it was written by Tim Nash. That was great, Tim. Thank you for that. That was funny. That was a good pitch for the hard times. I always go, damn it, hard times, because they're just so funny. Yeah, lead singer of Gas Huffer had a ton of energy. These were available on vinyl in the 90s. I did not know that. I used to see them at a couple of different record stores. That's amazing that they were actually pressed up on vinyl. See, that's something I'd want to own. Rancid as the Silencers. I always wanted a whole LP of that. Punk-O-Rama 4 was a great one. That was that had a great opener from Pennywise. Fight it. We got to find a way. We got to fight. We won't go away. What are we waiting for? Just make some noise. Whoa, whoa, yeah. Second Best by Pulley. Faster Than the World, H2O. Because we're faster than the world. We're faster than the world. Faster than the world. We can't slow down. 1998, which is written by Rancid, and it was co-written by Howie Pyro, R.I.P. It was about shooting junk. The Will, the Message by Bombshell Rocks, great fucking track. And then here we have, like, for me, The Run, just some of my favorite punk songs from my youth. Hopeless Romantic by the Bouncing Souls. I'm a hopeless romantic. You're just hopeless. I don't know what to do, top it always do, but I get back up in the star, and love come back to you. I'm a man, take you do what you wanna do, da 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 do, yeah. Oh, is that what a song, man? What a fucking song. My favorite comps are Back from the Grave, even though it's 60s punk, and the Rhino comps are good too. Yes. Nuggets is a great comp. Then you have probably the best 10-foot pole song, which is The Getaway, which is about a getaway. Dreams don't chase me anymore. I guess I forgot just what I'm running for. That song really meant a lot to me as a kid. A lot. I used to listen to that song a lot. Then you had Think the World by All. Great. And then I don't know what it was about this song, but it just made me lose my mind. Snap Decision by the New Bomb Turks. If you've never heard Snap Decision, it's not just it's not just my favorite song of all of these songs. It would be number one on my top 20 list for sure. That I could put at the top. And to me, that song is just about fucking shit up. I just don't even know how else to put it. I go crazy I used to go crazy when I would hear it. I would have given anything to hear them do that live. I can't find anything of them doing it live on YouTube. Generator by Bad Religion, great Bad Religion song. And then you have I Will Deny. Let's Do This by Straight Faced. It's My Life. It's my life. They Always Come Back by the Voodoo Glow Skulls. Dun 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 dun. No, that was great. And then you have, man, I'm skipping over some of these tracks. Then you have Punk-O-Rama 5. Okay, so now I don't know if it's for every Punk-O-Rama, but it says here all of the tracks were previously released except for Pump Up the Volume by NoFX and Problematic by All. The latter two tracks were title tracks left off the band's current albums at the time. That's right. So there was Pump Up the Volume, but Pump Up the Volume was not actually on the album. And it's the same thing with Problematic. This is really great. So, and then later on, the songs were re-recorded for later, some of these songs. Poison. Oh, what a great fucking Rancid song. All right, so you have Pump Up the Volume, which is just such a great opener, and it's just a great NoFX song. Problematic. No Cigar. That's probably the best Mellon Collins song. That is like Smash It Up by the International Noise Conspiracy. Close-minded. Everybody tells me I'm close-minded. Why don't you trust a little bit of bug crack? Poison by Rancid. Secure Horizons. Panic by Oscar. Better Be Women by the Dwarves. Slow Motion Riot. Still the same fellas. We still all right. Young and ready to die. Ready to fight for what's right. As I look back now on that summer vacation, I realize that we are good about association. Huh. The Beat Stakes, which this is the first time that we're really seeing like sort of like some emo poke its way through in any kind of way. And that's with this great song though by the Beat Stakes called We Have to Figure It Out Tonight. Sorry, Guilty by Association is H2O. 98 Mute did Slow Motion Riot. Whoa, a magazine, death, reality, we're living in a slow motion riot. What? Yeah. Hold It Down by Madball. 180 Down by Bombshell Rocks. Looking Out for Number One by Death by Stereo. Fuck yeah. Another phenomenal bouncing soul song that really makes you like, I used to listen to this as a kid, so to hear this song And it's so weird to hear this song now as an older person, kid. That's so, and it's just a great. They got do some great woes. You're a good girl. You play the game to break your heart. You're trying to get back to where you started. Pay attention now. Da 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 da. Do 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 do. Oh, so good, so fucking good. The Game by Union 13. Fuck yeah. They get a New York Dolls cover, Stranded in the Jungle by the Voodoo Glove Skulls. And then here is our first taste of the Hives. The Hives introduce the metric system in time. Great friggin' song. Automatic Teller by the New Bomb Turks. And Zeke with the Evil Dead, dude. That's a gnarly track by Zeke. Gnarly track. And then we get into 2001, which is volume 6. Great song, great opener by Guttermouth. Can I Borrow Some Ambition? Bath of Least Resistance, No Effects, great track. Black Eye, Do You Want to Hit? From Melancholy and the Donis. Wait, I did not realize there was a fusion. This is the first time we see Hot Water Music, which is again like get into that like emo type stuff. Jack of All Trades, great song. Then you get one of the true great classics of the Bouncing Souls. Every Bouncing Souls song on these compilations just phenomenal, and they have them all in their sets. I think they know that there's a certain group of kids. Like when I go to hear the Bouncing Souls live, I enjoy. Again, I've listened through their entire discography, but I want to hear all of the songs that I heard on all these Punk-O-Rama compilations, and for the most part, they play them, and they have. This is the introduction of True Believers, which is just it's anthemic. What a chorus, man. Then there's an X cover, We're Desperate with Pennywise and Exene from X, which is great. And there's more stuff. And then Punk-O-Rama 7, that's really, for me, I think that's really where I start to get off the boat. Where I got off the boat. Black City by Division of Laura Lee. Great track. Another great Bouncing Soul song that I was singing earlier, The Something Special. Forget about the things I said. No excuse for me. I want to start again. Oh, Randy, Addicts of Communication. Great song. And Randy do a song called Razorblade, which in my opinion, if you go look up Razorblade by Randy, it's on YouTube somewhere. In my opinion, this song by Randy is the closest that a band has ever come to writing a Glenn Danzig song from the year 1979. Like, I could imagine Horror Business Misfits doing Razorblade. I got myself a razor blade. Da na 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 na. Da na 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 na. Razor blade. Got myself razor blade. It's just, and they're in skeleton suits, and I'm like, that is something that Glenn Danzig would write this song. You would hear it right next to Last Caress or anything else, man. You could imagine Glenn Danzig sing that. Razor blade, dun dun dun. I got myself a razor blade. Just really, really, really great song. Rancid covers a No Effects song, and No Effects cover a Rancid song. Bob, they do Bob and Olympia, Washington. And then I have nothing really to say about Punk-O-Rama 8 because I don't think there's a single song on here that I listen to. Like, not one. I don't know, man. I'm trying to think. I put one on the compilation? I'm not sure. I don't think I did. Maybe I did. I'm trying to remember which one is on there. Maybe the Bouncing Souls track. I don't know. But I picked it up. Nothing clicked. So I was like, I'm just not into this. I'm like, damn, they struck out. And then Punk-O-Rama Volume 9. That's when they had the DVD. And I was like, okay, I'll check this out. And that's when Bouncing Souls, again, I was just hooked on the Bouncing Souls of that, and they had that Sing Along Forever. They recorded a live music video in CBGB's. Great. And of course, that was my introduction to the Horror Pops with Mistake. Horror Pops put out 2 records. And I saw them live. I saw them live in 2009. It was fun. It was interesting. I think they're still together. I know he's married. Kim Neckerman's married to Patricia, whatever her face is. And right, that had the X-Ray Eyes video. Right, is X-Ray Eyes on here too? That's a great Randy song. Ooh, hey, we're a happy family. No. All the kids with X-ray eyes. I was really into the Necromantics, but not because of Epitaph. But that album, Return of the Living Dead, that's really my only foray into like psychobilly. And then I never even bought Volume 10. I was done. After Volume 9. I was like, I'm over this, man. Never bought it. Just was not into it. Yeah, they had the live version of Anchors Away from Balancing Souls. Yeah, Bad Religion was still there. No Effects, I think. Yeah, No Effects. Pulley, Tiger Army. But it was just, by that point, I had gotten into the first wave of punk rock. By that time, I was really into the Ramones. I was really into the Stooges, the New York Dolls, the Bad Brains, Fishbone. I was over all this stuff, man. I still listen to it for its nostalgia value, but it just didn't hold me. It didn't hold me the way that it used to. This guy wrote an article. I don't know if I'm going to read it. It's kind of long, but it's a great. I don't know. It's kind of a great from the little that I saw. Kind of touches on it. Wow, that's really funny. All right, this is from 2017 by a guy named Kevin Warwick, and this is from AV Club. Here, I'll pull this up. Angus says, I saw the Bouncing Souls at a Warped Tour. It was so hot that I did not have much of an impression of them. I've seen the Bouncing Souls, I think, twice, and when I saw them with TSOL a few years back, I had the best friggin' time. I love Greg. He's such a great front man. He's so, what's the word? He has such a confidence about him. He's so secure as a front man. I don't know how else to describe it. I just really appreciate him. I really, really do. Punk rock captured and killed the 90s pop punk boom. It probably did kill it. In 1997, CD warehouses proliferated across suburban strip malls, sterile repositories of cheap, hard plastic media where Joe Hedge Trimmer could methodically click through Eagles and Beatles' greatest hits albums in the hope of making his 15-minute commutes easier to digest. It was an era of accessibility in physical music, that's right, that verged on over-convenience, epitomized by prepackaged CD compilations that flooded the system in the same way that needless $25 vinyl reissues do now. Before Spotify came along, these comps introduced you to new recommended if you like artists in a way that fit conveniently inside the 220 disc CD. Remember that? You had to have all your CDs in a book. It was like a grimoire of CDs, just a giant fucking book, man. And yeah, you keep the Case Logic books under the passenger seat of your Plymouth Sundance. And for budding teenage punks, their shrink-wrapped premiere was Punk-O-Rama, damn straight. Launched in 1994 by Epitaph Records, the acknowledged arbiter of the sort of melodic SoCal punk that exploded in popularity in the mid-90s around Green Day, Rancid, The Offspring. The Punk-O-Rama album series acted chiefly as promotion for the label's artists, but also encapsulated the genre's rigorously cultivated sound. Although there were slight variations from band to band, it all boiled down to a combo of beefy guitar power chords. All the songs, each band had its own style, but all of the songs, they're so similar. They are, and that's all you wanted. You just wanted fast, beefy guitar power chords, snotty vocals that could also harmonize very well, and most importantly, a well-oiled skate punk gallop. This is a great writer. Whoever wrote this is great. He nailed it on the head. Held steady by a 1-2 beat on the kick drum. Surprise, I just described No Effects. It sounds like No Effects. Ha 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 ha. And if you listen to a lot of those, same thing with Charlie Watts, though. You listen to a lot of Rolling Stone songs, especially if you go through like the 80s and 90s Rolling Stone stuff. Charlie Watts's drum beat is the same for all of them. It's not to say Charlie Watts isn't great, but it's not the same. Punk-O-Rama compiled these into one reliable, seamless stream of sound that became briefly ubiquitous amongst manic, panic-dyed, hoodie-clad suburban kids. I mean, essentially, before you had the emo mall kids, this was the crop of children before them that were really into the stuff, ostensibly opening them up to a new sound, but mostly from bands working the same template ad nauseum. I mean, really, you know what I appreciate about this author here, by Kevin. Kevin is honestly, shamelessly breaking down something that in a way that I never could, because I have too much bias, because I'm so dialed in this from the nostalgia, right? In that kind of way. Psychobilly rules. Danzig is a big Meteors fan. I talked to him about it at the signing in 2011. He said Tiger Army was fake. Well, what's funny is he ended up having Tiger Army as opened for the Misfits a bunch of times. I had most of these comps, says Gunhead17. Discovered a lot of great bands through them. Pulley, Melancholy, Dropkicks. They had some great stuff. I'm sorry I'm butchering that band's name. I just can't pronounce it properly. Before the series got especially bloated with the number of tracks jumping to 25 in 1998. What's wrong with that? Okay, so I didn't realize this. Volume 5 had indeed had 28 tracks. It was 28 tracks. Epitaph, I was pulling that number from my head. I wasn't sure if it was 28. Epitaph kept it tightly focused. Aided by every band keeping its songs well under 3 minutes. Yeah, man. You just have a song that's anywhere from 1:30 to 3 minutes. It's great. And while the various artists featured may have always been something of a mixed bag, especially by the standard of Epitaph's incubator, the comp smartly sequenced its roster according to a sort of loose algorithm. I never really noticed that. I didn't think they were particularly sequenced. I guess he says here, the flagship bands, Pennywise, NoFX, Bad Religion, are obviously what sell, so their contributions are scattered throughout, impelling you to listen to the Humpers mutate with me so you can get to Rancid's sidekick. That's a good point, but I think Humpers mutate with me sells itself. If you look, I mean, Bad Religion in so many of these comps is towards the end. Epitaph owner Brett Gurwitz, aka Mr. Brett, aka guitarist founding member of Bad Religion, also used Punk-O-Rama to pay tribute to legacy acts that he admired because he's the boss. On Volume 2, this included TSOL and Poison Idea, each of which contributed a hardcore punk classic, Code Blue and Just to Get Away, respectively. And then there are second-tier middling acts, the ones that traffic in the same sounds that lord over the rest of the album label, but somehow their version panders to the formula in a way that only exacerbates their anonymity. Specifically, they're the ones who would benefit most from being included on a comp like Punk-O-Rama, but mostly they just end up getting swallowed. You owned albums by these bands 20 years ago, and yet you can't immediately recall their names when their comp tracks are played. This guy is so fucking on the money, man. He so truly understands this stuff. It only clicks when paired with some random piece of trivia, like the front man was the relief pitcher in the majors. Oh, right, that was Pulley, Scott from Pulley, and 10 Foot Pole. It's too funny. If Punk-O-Rama was the meaty Salisbury steak of the prepackaged punk TV dinner, the Fat Records Fat Music series, it was fat music for fat people, was the mashed potatoes with ska punk comps like 1994 Scarmageddon, and it had like Propagandy on it. What is it? Louis 88, Fingers 88, something like that. Being hundreds of tasteless corn niblets. Still, Fat Rec founder and NoFX frontman Fat Mike actually rolled out his fledgling label series a year prior to Punk-O-Rama, initially through mail order only. The first Fat Music for Fat People, which I totally have, was a thrifty $3 and offered a similarly condensed look at the Fat Wreck lineup, which was even more uniform than Epitaph's. on the series' arguable pinnacle, which was 1997's Physical Fatness, Fat News 1-3, which I also have. Yeah, it was 88 Fingers Louie. I was not into fat music for fat people. It just never, it didn't have the same. For me, Punk-O-Rama was like the blue ribbon premium compilation, and everything else was secondary, man. Lagwagon, No Use for a Name, Strung Out, 88 Fingers Louie, Good Riddance. None of these bands I really was into. I mean, I knew who they were. And yes, No Effects also were on these. Apply a consistent formula of up-tempo. I think Mustard Plug was on some of these too. Kick drum heavy songs, which is very ska. That's a ska band right there. Most of this courtesy of shared producer Ryan Green, layered with hyper-polished, nearly passive vocal melodies. This became the readily identifiable Fat Wreck sound, except for Snuff. Snuff was bad in its own special way. But, you know, again, to even pull back further from all of this stuff, all of it really can be traced back to the Descendants, who were, you know, doing this a decade and some change before. The Descendants laid the way, laid the pipe work for every one of these bands to come after it. 100%. The success of these spawned a flourishing industry of branded punk comp CDs from, like we just talked about it, Nitro Records, which was owned by the Offspring's Dexter Holland, that had The Damned on it. They had that song Democracy was on there. And of course, TSOL's album Disappear, their reunion album. Hellcat, which gave us Give 'Em the Boot. Asian Man, boasted by the Plea for Peace series. Meanwhile, both Epitaph and Fat Records kept at it through the mid-2000s, putting out a new comp for nearly every single year. Fat did get a bit more experimental along the way. Right, so Short Music for Short People was Fat Records, didn't realize that. Featuring 101 bands playing songs that are less than 30 seconds long, remains a treasure trove of stupid excess. It's a novelty, man. It's a really fun novelty. This guy is so good at criticism, man. But primarily, they stuck to their loud, fast, shiny guns. As for the smaller bands these compilations featured, while they gained crucial exposure, most of them, again, ended up becoming indistinguishable entities of the label rather than individual organisms. A band like Bracket, that's good points, man. A band like Bracket, for example, was completely gobbled up by the Fat content mill, and surely I probably owned one of its records because of it. But I couldn't begin to tell you what the band sounded like outside of the few very educated guesses. Same with, say, Oscar on Epitaph. These bands are their labels, and they are forever blurred into one long, seamless comp CD. Ouch. It's painful, but it's kind of true. And as for a few outliers, the same gloopy thrum, like the rowdy punk and rollers New Bomb Turks, or the ragged hardcore punk band Dead Fucking Last. Their presences mostly just ended up feeling confounding rather than exciting. I disagree there. I always look forward to a New Bomb Turks song on the comps. You just ended up skipping the offbeat track to get to the one that felt familiar. That is true, and that is why my lists... That is why, if you look at the songs that I have on the mix to go with this episode, you will see that for sure. I would skip the offbeat tracks that didn't click for me, instead for the same aesthetic familiarity that I appreciate about all those other songs. And so on to the next one, a row of identical pop punk cookie cutter houses lined off in the horizon. But there's not, you know what? What's wrong with that? Like, honestly, is there anything wrong with that? I don't think so. I don't think so. Gunhead says, didn't the later ones from like 8 and up go to 2? It was 1 CD and 1 DVD. And yes, you're right. There was some really experimental stuff on the final ones, not even necessarily punk sounding. It was not punk sounding, and that was part of the problem. I mean, just really fell off hard. And I'm sure our friend here, Kevin, is going to explain why. So it went from most of the suburban kids who had briefly gotten into pop punk in the first place. As the compact disc waned and all the CD warehouses, Camelot Musics, and media plays closed, so too did the luster of compilation. It's true, man. Those compilations died with the CD. Epitaph finally did away with the Punk-O-Rama in 2005, right as it was beginning to pivot towards post-hardcore and emo. Fat Records endures, though its compilation output has become more sporadic over the recent years. Today, all of those 1990s punk cops feel like time capsules. They so do, man. Beautiful, beautiful time capsules. Not just of a pre-streaming age, but of an era when CDs reigned, and even punk bands happily catered to the format's high gloss, offering sounds that were cleaner, crisper, and more compressed. With all of the fat trimmed to the bone, there's not much room for lasting flavor. Progeners like No Effects still sound fresh today, but especially in such close proximity, its surrounding imitators and disciples can't help but sound stale. In the end, the punk comp only hastened their journey to that proverbial Case Logic in the back of the closet. That was a tremendous article. I mean, I'm so glad I read that. It was a fast read, too. I think that really caps off and says it in such a more elegant way than I ever could. So I gotta give it to that. Sorry, just looked at them. 8 was 2 CDs. So, oh wow. So 8 was 2 CDs. 9 and 10 had 1 CD and 1 DVD of vids. He has them right there. Matt John says my top Punk-O-Rama bands are Zeke, Dwarves, Descendants, and whatever was hard or anti-fascist. JB for Prez, always room for Jello. So there you have it. If you want my picks, as I said, we kind of went through it already. Just take my mix that I have on Spotify, throw it on shuffle, and although I will say, I really do think you do need to listen to it in sequence. It's part of it. So maybe if you're not familiar with Punk-O-Rama, you will enjoy this more. But if you like Punk-O-Rama, you really just need to dust off your CDs or throw on the compilations in their track order. So I just knew I couldn't do 20 songs. It was just impossible, man. It was impossible. So tune in tomorrow for the it's already pre-taped, and it's going to drop tomorrow at 4:00 EST. With Bad Nerves, a new punk band that I am just enamored by. Again, I can't say enough good things about these guys. Check out their music. Subscribe to their YouTube channel. Follow them on Instagram. Check out their new single called All Right. But most of all, listen to their self-titled album. It's a fucking masterpiece. It's one of the best debut albums I've heard in a long time. And we just had we had a 2-hour-long conversation. That's premiering tomorrow. Do not miss out on that. Please, 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 please. I beg of you, check this band out. You will not be sorry. They're called Bad Nerves. Turn on notifications for the video. It's on the channel. It's all set up, ready to go. Hope you enjoyed tonight. I'm going to start saying this more often because I feel like I need to. If you enjoy this stuff, please make sure to check out the Patreon. You can sign up to become a YouTube member. Thank you to all my Patreons and YouTube members that support the channel. We're doing some really fun stuff in behind the veil, behind the curtain. If you enjoy this content and you don't want to sign up, you can always buy a coffee. Buying a coffee really helps keep a lot of the infrastructure running here nice and smooth in a variety of ways. And if not, just like this video, share it, subscribe, all that good stuff. And yeah, all that stuff is important. What's up? We got, thanks, Rue. Am I going to the VOD gig? Yes, that is the plan. As of now, that is the plan, to go to the VOD gig. As of right now, have it on my calendar. I was talking about it earlier on December 18th. The reason I don't like No Effects is the lyrics don't seem deep, even when they're ripping Bush. No offense, the punks, but I did really like them. I don't know. That's a whole. I can't even begin to talk about that at this moment. But that is a whole. That's a very subjective situation. Sorry, I'm just at a loss for words. No Effects lyrics. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Fat Mike, he does his thing. A lot of those songs do kind of bleed in together. The guy who wrote that article was right about a lot of stuff. I'll take you out with the Patreon thing, Patreon commercial. Peace, hair grease, Bad Nerves tomorrow. Please, this is a band everybody needs to be listening to. The Bad Nerves. Check it out, dude. Go to their YouTube channel. Go watch the Bad Nerves. Or watch them here. Patreon!
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Jeff. So I've decided to make a Patreon. What is Patreon? I don't know how to define a Patreon. Let me look it up. Patreon is a membership platform that makes it very easy for creators to get paid for the things that they're already creating. I want to do it full time. I want this to be my full-time job. In my efforts to make that happen, I've set up this platform. Is it going to work? Is it going to be successful? I don't know, but I would rather try and crash and burn than not try at all. The goal is to create enough passive revenue so that I can continue to do this full-time, uninterrupted. Why? Because I love to do this. I love creating content. I love making videos. I love shooting films. I love doing podcasts. In case you couldn't tell, I love to talk and I never shut the fuck up. So right now I've kept the Patreon incredibly simple. There's 2 tiers, and that may change in the future. The Murdergram is a simple way to extend support for all of the hours and hours of free content on the channel for nothing more than $1. 38 cents goes to Patreon. What's $1.38, eh? It's less than a cup of coffee, but it's a great way that you can show support for very little effort. When you divide that $1.38 by the hours and hours and hours of time spent listening to this endless drivel of content, the dollar cost average works out. Next up is the YouTube Casualty for $6.66. The YouTube Casualty is loaded to the gills. Enjoy the archive ad-free, as well as ad-free early access to special docu-style podcast videos, music reaction commentaries, and the like, a month before they drop on YouTube, loaded with ads, I might add. You're also going to get exclusive content and behind-the-scenes content that is not available on YouTube or anywhere else. So you get to peek behind the veil. And believe me, there's a couple of choice pieces. Most of all, more than anything, whether you join the Patreon or not, I just want to thank each and every one of you that comes to the channel, that watches all the shows, that leaves comments, that participates, that subscribes. That's really the most important thing. This is just trying to find a way to earn a living as an artist. And with that, thank you for my TED Talk. Join the Patreon, because we need you!
66 cents.